Please come and frame me. Just make sure that. Is it well framed? Okay, on this light. It's well framed, right? You can go and continue. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So today we are going to talk about the documentary production process. So starting from inception, it wasn't like this before. The documentary production industry was not as developed as it is now. But right now, the industry is changing. The documentary production industry is expanding, and then this particular discussion is very, very important for us to discuss. So, in producing a documentary, a lot of things will have to be put in place. Before I start with what will be put in place, I want to talk to you about different kinds of documentaries. You would recall that NGOs, for instance, after the implementation of their intervention, maybe the project cycle is 3 years or 4 years. After this implementation, the end of project documentary is produced to be able to share to the donors and stakeholders for them to see the achievements made during the implementation of that particular intervention. For government agencies, agencies like, for instance, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the rest that do program implementation. So documentary production has become essential for them to uh, be able to update the citizens on the milestones and the progress that the government is making. And for private companies, documentary production is also essential because it will, enable the general public to see the progress the company is making in terms of customer support, in terms of uh, timeline, in terms of project implementation. So this will give them more visibility and possibly attract new clients. So for philanthropists and individuals that want to create documentaries, mostly biography documentaries, also very essential, where philanthropists and public figures are, their story will be told for lifetime. So all these kind of officer or the director of an organization, then this kind of live stream is for you. If you're a government politician, then this particular discussion is for you. If you're also an emerging content creator who is trying to, develop services within the content creation industry, that means also this discussion is for you. Um, Starting from the beginning, what do we have to do first if we want to tell a documentary story? If we're telling a documentary story for a client, is a little bit different from if we're telling a documentary story independently, maybe to enter film festivals or to distribute in our social media handles. So if we're telling a documentary story for a client, The first thing we have to do is to work with them to generate the concept note. So this initial document that will be generated will contain what the documentary is going to be like. Uh, this is if, for instance, you didn't go through the bidding process. But if the organization is bringing out the opportunity through terms of reference document or request for quotation document, it means that maybe the concept note will be embedded in the TOR document. So if that happens, it means that you have to just read the terms of reference and develop your own proposal and quotation for the documentary production. So, but the first document that will be generated during the production process is the concept notes. So, during this production process, let me categorize them into three different phases. The first phase is the pre production stage, the second phase is the production stage, and the last phase is the post production stage. So it is during the pre production stage that the concept note is demanded for. So once you get that concept note, as a documentary producer, what you're going to do is to really research, understudy the topic. If you're going to tell a story about an organization, you have to read more about the organization. You have to know more about the projects that they have been implementing. You have to make that basic research. So after this basic research, you will have to maybe call for an inception meeting. What is an inception meeting? Inception meeting is the first meeting, the first production meeting that you should have with the stakeholders around the documentary that you want to create. If, for instance, you're creating a documentary for an NGO, the communication officer, the program officer, and people within the program implementation circle will have to come together with you to do the uh, inception meeting. So during this inception meeting, you will be able to outline the locations that will be visited for this documentary production, how many days the shooting is going to take. You'll be able to map out the stakeholders. Who are you going to interview? If the project is community based, are we going to be able to have access to the community leaders? Are we going to be able to have access to the community men and women that benefited from the program implementation? Are we going to be able to have access to religious leaders and every other stakeholder within that community context? So, if the answer is yes, during the inception meeting, you're going to know. And then after that, you are going to map out the stakeholders that will be interviewed. So, after selecting the stakeholders, the next phase for you, which is still under the pre production stage, is to develop your interview question, your production script, and also you have to um, plan on the shooting schedule. So if you are able to develop these documents and share uh, with your team, and you get the approval, uh, so next thing will be for you to go to the field and shoot. So the shooting process is in the production stage, which is the second stage of the documentary production process. So during the shooting stage, what do you do? First of all, you have to, during the inception phase, you have to understand about the distribution of that documentary. Is it going to be premiered in cinemas? Will it be premiered in a TV station? Or will it just be distributed on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and other social media handles? So this information will enable you decide the resolution that you're going to shoot that documentary. If you're going to produce this documentary for TV broadcast, is it going to be local TV station or international TV stations? For international TV stations, there is standard in terms of equipment resolution that are acceptable, and there are some that are not acceptable. For most of the international TV stations, they accept 4K resolution production, so you can shoot with something like Canon C300 Mark II. You can shoot with Sony FS6. You can shoot with Blackmagic Ursa 4.6K. So etc etc. But some of these broadcast companies will have their shooting specification in their website. So if they say, "Oh, we will premiere this documentary on CNN," please check out the shooting specification in CNN before you go ahead to choose the equipment that you work with. So, but if you're shooting for local TV stations within Nigeria, they accept full HD, which means they accept the resolution of 1080 1920. So there is a lot of cameras that can shoot full HD, including your Canon 5D Mark, Sony Sony mirrorless cameras like Sony A7 Mark II, Sony A7 Mark III, etc. etc. So when you finish selecting your cameras, also know if you need to do an aerial establishment shot of the communities where the story is emanating from. If you have to do that aerial establishment, you need to also travel with a drone. So there are different kinds of drones, and most of the drones available under DJI, are all 4K resolution. So you can shoot with DJI Mavic Mini 3, you can shoot with Mavic Mini 4, you can shoot with Phantom 4 Pro, depending on the drones that are available within your location. So another very important component of the shooting phase is the audio. So during the inception phase, you will know the kind of uh, interviews and the kind of shots that will be taken in the field. If you're going to shoot group shots where people are having like meetings and a lot of people are making contribution, maybe you might have to consider going with a boom mic and a mixer so that you can boom and get ambience and all the discussion at the same time. But if it's just one-on-one interviews, then you might want to consider going with a lavalier microphone like a lapel, but wireless microphone you can mount on your camera and clip on their clothes. So when you package these equipment, always make sure you have enough batteries and make sure you have enough memory cards. So right there in the field, the shooting process is the most interesting and exciting process. So wherever you are taking the story from, you have to take establishment shot of the building or the community. You have to take establishment shot of people and the things they are doing. If the story is about farmers, please take establishment shots of farmers working in the farm. I believe that as a videographer or a cinematographer, you will understand what short list is all about. So you're going to make a short list of all the shots that you're going to take in the field. So once you're in the field, to make sure you do not forget, you follow the short list to knock off your shots. So after all the interviews and all the establishment shots are done, what do you do next? You're going to return, back to base where the post-production process will take place. Now, the post-production process is another phase of the production process. So this is now where you come home to look at all the interviews you've recorded. If people answered your questions in local languages, this is the time for you to now transcribe, what they said in Hausa or Igbo or Yoruba into English. So after transcription, if there is going to be voiceover, then you have to develop the post-production script and give a voiceover artist to voice. So when the voiceover is ready and you have compiled all the footage that you've shot, the next phase will be the editing process. So depending on what the editor is using, there are possibilities that the editor will want to use Adobe Premiere Pro, as it is the most professional software that people use around here. So there is also DaVinci Resolve, and there is also Final Cut Pro for those that use MacBooks. So whichever software, the post production process will involve trying to um, compile all this footage that you've taken in the field to tell a holistic story. So you use the voiceover, you use the video footage, you use uh, animated data, all the things that are contained in the script will now have to be put forward during the post production. So after the first cut has been edited, you will share with your clients, if for instance the project is a client based project, so for them to look at it, send in all their corrections, then you make the corrections and share the updated version. This back and forth might go on for a while until your clients say, okay, we are satisfied with this production, and then your documentary process is completed. If you are in charge of distribution, this is now the time you have to upload the content on YouTube and Instagram, depending on your distribution process. Or if it's going to be broadcasted on a TV station, you have to put it in a flash drive and send over to the TV station for them to preview and queue. So the documentary production process is a very holistic one, uh, starting from the inception phase where you do the pre-production arrangements, to the phase where you have to the shooting phase where you have to go to the field and do all the shooting, and then the post-production phase where you have to come back, compile them and edit. This whole process put together has to be properly budgeted for during the budgeting phase, so that at every phase of the production there will be resources to carry it through. So if you follow this process, I assure you at the end of the day you're going to create a very interesting documentary. And for those that want to maybe get some of these practical experiences, you can contact us in Capital Power Multimedia for us to put you through. And we're also here for organizations and agencies that want to train their staff to be able to implement the production documentary production process from the beginning to finish. So I hope you have enjoyed this discussion, and I look forward to having you again in our next episode of the production process. Thank you. My name is George.